Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was terrifying before the ball was even snapped. His 17-year career with the Ravens included 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 13 Pro Bowls, and a Super Bowl MVP. He still holds the all-time record for solo tackles at 1,568 and combined tackles at 2,059, and every one of them felt like an exclamation point. He once laid out Chad Johnson without even looking at him, mid-play with his back turned. His pregame speeches were the stuff of legend, and his off-field legal troubles in 2000 only added to the mythos. For 17 years, quarterbacks and running backs didn't just prepare for Ray, they braced for him. James Harrison. James Harrison went from undrafted afterthought to one of the most terrifying players in league history. He racked up 84.5 career sacks, forced 33 fumbles, and won the 2008 Defensive Player of the Year while anchoring Pittsburgh's elite defense. At just 6 foot, he relied on raw power and a ruthless edge, once knocking out 2 Browns receivers in a single game and saying later, "I didn't want to injure them, I just wanted them to hurt." Harrison didn't believe in taking plays off. He believed in sending messages. Even in his late 30s, he was bench pressing 500 pounds and pushing 1,800-pound sleds, making him a human freight train well past his physical prime. His violent playing style earned him over $150,000 in fines in 2010 alone, and he never once apologized. Jack Tatum. Jack Tatum's reputation as the assassin was built on a foundation of bone-crunching hits and a complete disregard for caution. His career totals, 37 interceptions and 10 fumble recoveries, don't tell even close to the full story, because his real impact was psychological. In 1978, his hit on Darryl Stingley during a preseason game left the receiver paralyzed, and Tatum never apologized, saying, "I understand why he's the victim, but I'll never understand why people look at me as the villain." A year later, Earl Campbell said a hit from Tatum left him in burning pain, with numbness shooting to his feet. His book was literally titled, "They Call Me Assassin," and he meant every word. Tatum made it clear, when you crossed the middle against the Raiders, you were putting your life in his hands. Dick Butkus. Dick Butkus played like every game was a personal grudge match. He totaled 1,020 tackles, forced 49 turnovers, and became a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He once admitted to imagining opponents were mocking him just to stoke his own fury before kickoff. Players didn't want to be tackled by him. They wanted to avoid him altogether. MacArthur Lane, a bruising Packers running back, famously said, "I'd rather go one-on-one with a grizzly bear than with Butkus." His 8 Pro Bowl appearances and 5 first-team All-Pro selections only back up what players already knew. Dick Butkus was built different, and he hit with bad intentions. Reggie White. Reggie White was one of the strongest men to ever play in the NFL, and he had the stats to prove it. With 198 career stacks, still second all-time, he bulldozed through offensive lines while barely breaking a sweat. Former teammate Mike Quick said watching White toss 300-pound linemen like it was nothing was routine. His combination of 4.6 speed at nearly 300 pounds made him a defensive end with linebacker mobility. He was a 13-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and a Super Bowl champion. White was more than just fearsome. He was nearly unblockable, and blockers knew it before the snap. Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor didn't just dominate games, he completely changed how the NFL viewed his position. The infamous tackle that shattered Joe Theismann's leg on national television became the defining moment of his violent brilliance, but it was far from the only time LT wreaked havoc. In just 13 seasons, he recorded 132.5 sacks, won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times, and remains the only linebacker to ever win league MVP. He was the focal point of every offensive game plan, and yet they still couldn't stop him. Bill Belichick called him the best defensive player I've ever coached, by a wide margin. Off the field, Taylor's battles with addiction and his eventual conviction for felony charges only added to the fearsome aura. He was unpredictable, destructive, and utterly unstoppable. Jack Lambert. Jack Lambert was the face of Pittsburgh's legendary Steel Curtain defense. With 1,479 career tackles, he backed up his bark with a serious bite. At 6'4" and 220 pounds, his angular frame and missing teeth gave him the look of a horror movie villain, which wasn't far from how quarterbacks saw him. John Elway said he wanted to give his money back and leave the game the moment he saw Lambert on the field. His nickname, Dracula in Cleats, wasn't a media creation. It was earned. Lambert made 4 Super Bowl appearances and was an 8-time Pro Bowler. He wasn't just a tough guy. He was a savage leader who never hesitated to defend his teammates with force. Jim Brown. Jim Brown led the league in rushing 8 times in 9 seasons and retired with a then record 12,312 rushing yards. His average of 104.3 rushing yards per game still hasn't been topped since his retirement in 1965. At 6 foot 2 inches and 232 pounds, he had both breakaway speed and punishing power, and he often initiated contact just to send a message. Brown once said, "Make sure when anyone tackles you, they remember how much it hurts." Off the field, his reputation was polarizing. Admired for activism, but arrested multiple times, included on charges of assault. On the field, however, defenders remembered him for only one thing: the pain. Night Train Lane. Night Train Lane still holds the single-season interception record with 14 picks in just 12 games, a record that has stood since 1952. But he wasn't just a ball hawk. He was a violent tackler who forced the NFL to change its rules. His infamous Night Train necktie tackle, grabbing players by the face mask or neck and slamming them down, resulted in multiple rule changes banning head and neck hits. One hit in 1961 left John Arnott motionless on the turf. Lane never played college football and joined the NFL by walking into the Rams office and asking for a tryout. That raw intensity and instinct made him one of the most feared defenders of the 1950s and 60s. Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell ran like he was trying to erase people. In just 8 seasons, he totaled 9,407 rushing yards, 74 touchdowns, and 3 rushing titles. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry while weighing 244 pounds, and his 36-inch thighs became a physical symbol of his punishing style. Campbell ran a 4.6 40-yard dash, which was absurd for his size, and he used that power-speed combo to absolutely humiliate defenders. He once broke through multiple tackles on a single play, shedding jerseys and leaving defenders in piles. Despite his violent running style, he only missed 6 games due to injury because it was the defenders, not him, who needed recovery time. If we missed any players in this video who you think were actually the scariest, leave a comment. Also, YouTube thinks you'll like this next video, so stick with Football for Dummies and give it a watch.